Over the past year and a bit, I've had the pleasure and distinct honor of sitting on the other side of online meetings with Canadians who are highly successful at what they do, Canadians who are contributing back to Canada, and Canadians who are working hard to support the greater Canadian expat community. Today's guest is a bit different, both in terms of the contribution he has made not just to Canada, but to the entire world. This Canadian expat went from small town BC to megatropolis New York and is taking on the dark world of human trafficking head on.
I'm stuck in the blue.
Today, I'm extremely proud to introduce Lamont Hiebert. Lamont moved from Grand Forks, BC to the US in the 90s. For those that know me, that's where I'm from. So this interview is of particular interest. You see, Lamont and I went to the same elementary school and secondary school. Where I ended up traveling to Asia, he went to the US. Lamont, welcome to the Canadian Expat.
Alan, thanks for having me.
Your work with combating human trafficking is really the meat that I want to get to, Lamont. But before that, can you tell us a little bit about what led you to the US in the first place?
Sure. I had a great upbringing, really thankful for my upbringing in British Columbia. My parents were, often involved in helping people. My mother sort of ran a low-key, unofficial women's shelter where, it wasn't uncommon for me to see someone from a challenging situation having a deep conversation with my mom, and me sort of peeking through the doorway and listening, and so always sort of hating the abuse of women and children, and just human rights abuses in general. So after having this great upbringing in small town, I wanted to go out and see what I could do in this world. So I ended up moving to the part of the US where I am now in 1999 to pursue human rights work and to make music. Yeah, so in 2002, I started an organization called Love 146. It's based in New Haven, Connecticut, although it has offices in Asia as well. So while you were living in Asia, I was, living in the Northeast United States, but taking trips to Asia. And the big need then, and still now, there's many needs in this field of combating human trafficking. But a major need that I encountered in the early 2000s was a need for greater survivor care. You can't rescue help. There's organizations that do rescue work. It's not what I do. It's not what our organization does. But those rescue organizations and governments can't free and liberate victims of human trafficking unless they have a safe place to put them, especially children. And so unfortunately, there was a glaring need for safe places and equipped therapists to be able to care for child survivors of human trafficking in Asia. So in 2002, I started an organization gathering people from different different people in the nonprofit sector with different skill sets, and we were able to expand survivor care in Thailand, a little bit in Cambodia, but most predominantly in the Philippines, where Love 146 has some amazing flagship programs and is won, thankfully, because of our local staff there, NGO of the Year as designated by the Philippines government. So I did that for 10 years, really focusing on survivor care. Dabbled in some other things for a few years, and I'm now back to combating human trafficking. Instead of focusing on survivor care this time around, I'm with an organization called Unitas. We have offices in New York City, we have offices in Belgrade, Serbia, and we work to expand prevention education throughout Eastern Europe, throughout the United States, because as beautiful as survivor care is, to see someone restored who's gone through something so horrific, it's even better to prevent human trafficking in the first place. So that is my focus now.
When we were talking on the phone, you were mentioning a little bit about some of the issues that with the current COVID-19 crisis, this is perhaps even exacerbating a problem. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Alan, just the nature of our tech world, we've been seeing an uptick on online exploitation. However, there are now millions more young people and other at-risk people at home online. Human traffickers know this, and unfortunately, people get lured in. Sometimes they get lured in by a fake romance. Sometimes they get lured in through fake job offer. Other times it might be, I was in discussion with someone from Washington, D.C., one of my colleagues who's working with the FBI. They're seeing an uptick right now in fake online courses. Now, this is financial exploitation, but they get people to give money to an online course and it's fake. All of these criminals, they work together, human trafficking, often fraudulent financial crimes. There's a lot of interplay between human trafficking and drug trafficking and other financial crimes. And so unfortunately, youth are being targeted, and other vulnerable people are being targeted at an even greater clip right now because they're just in front of their screens more, as are predators.
As this audience is located around the world, of course, most Canadian expats are located in the US, but we've got expats all through Europe and through Asia as well. What can the Canadian expat community do? What can the individual do to help support your
Sure.
efforts, and on the ground in particular?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think the first thing we need to do is get educated. And I'm not just saying this to pitch, what I've created, but we've created a curriculum specifically for middle and high school students. What's funny about that is when we've gone to some major well-known tech companies and some other companies for collaborating on how to reach children, when they see the curriculum, they're like, oh, this is how people get exploited and trafficked. Can you teach our adult staff using the same curriculum? So we're actually getting asked to teach adults using, teen curriculum. So they can find more out about that at our website, and you can put a link to that later. But the point is whether it's a Google search, whether it's a full-on curriculum, we are coming out with a parent's guide. People can join our Facebook group that we just started. We're transferring a lot of our stuff to online. So there are great learning opportunities with our organization, with other organizations, on just how to educate yourself to keep, those that you love safe. People think that it can't happen to them or some of their loved ones. I have a colleague right now in Boston that's working with a hedge fund family that was their kid was exploited. So it's not just poor and vulnerable people. I mean, it can happen to virtually anyone because of the schemes that are going on right now. So educate yourself for your own sake, for your loved one's sake. And then if you see something in your community, it's the kind of thing that, hidden in plain sight, as they say many times. So labor trafficking is a big problem. Sometimes people, those who certify organic certified foods, they often encounter labor trafficking victims and just don't know it. So sometimes, or on a construction site or other agricultural things, sometimes when you're getting your braids done, in New York City, they had a big bust around human trafficking and braid extensions, restaurant workers. So they are around us. Unfortunately, there's just a lot of money to be made off of human trafficking. It's the second most profitable criminal industry in the world, and unfortunately. There's a saying in this field that a drug gets used once where a person gets used over and over again. So the markup on human trafficking is actually greater than drug trafficking. So we need to report it when we see it. No matter where you're at in the world, my expat friends, you have national hotlines where you're at. They're all over the place. A quick Google search, how do I report human trafficking in whatever country you're in? There's going to be a hotline, or call your local police if you just don't know.
So I guess first and foremost, just be aware of your surroundings.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's a lot of very dark stories that I'm sure you hear all the time, but there must be stories on the other side of that. People that come out of it and are flourishing.
Yeah.
Can you share some of that?
It is to be around the darkness of this it makes you just want to give up on humans. And then you meet survivors who have learned to dance and smile and thrive and become nurses, a lawyer. I know one that's a lawyer, get married, have children, own their own business. And so I'm friends with many, many survivors who are thriving. And in fact, our organization now, we work with a lot of domestic U.S. survivors, and that is a joy. Like we hire them to help us with our curriculum, so it's survivor informed.
So, besides this incredible work that you do, you are also a musician.
Yeah.
And have done a lot of incredible gigs, from what I understand. In the future, I would really like to feature you again, but feature some of your music, if that's okay.
Of course. Yeah.
I think that would be a lot of fun. Lamont, it is such an honor to have you with us today. Thank you so much.
Alan, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
And for all those that might want more information, I will put links below to Lamont's website so that you can see exactly what they're up to and get educated, find out exactly what you need to do. For all those that are watching, thank you very much for watching. If you've liked this video, please like it. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Until next time.